Hey, welcome back, or welcome if this is your first time to the channel. Today I'm going to be brewing up a kit. Now this kit comes from the lads over at Tankard Brewing. If you haven't come across those guys yet, then head over to their YouTube channel. It is Ben and Fenton over at Tankard Brewing. So they're essentially two young guys who happen to be mates and enjoy brewing, and they've got a YouTube channel. It's a really great channel, and they've got a lot of enthusiasm for brewing, and it's great to see them just having fun and making beer. So they've actually started making some kits which are available on their website, and I think at the moment there's probably maybe a dozen or so, maybe a few more than that, which range from kind of traditional English bitters and pale ales to hazy American IPA. So there's a really good range of beers on there, and I have to say they are very competitively priced. This is not an advert for them, but this is just a fair review of their website and this kit. So I picked a couple of kits out. I've got, excuse me, a Nectaron APA, American Pale Ale, and I also got a Golden Ale kit as well, which I'm going to be brewing hopefully in the next couple of weeks, and I'm going to have available over Christmas, because I feel like that's a beer that might be you know, widely appreciated over Christmas. So yeah, so I thought I'd start with the Nectaron APA. American Pale Ale is kind of one of my favourite styles. Nectaron is a hop I've used before and absolutely loved. I think last time I used it was in a New Zealand Pale Ale, and that turned out really well. So this kit caught my eye. I thought it was going to be really cracking idea to put it into a pale ale. It comes with a big bag of malt, obviously, all pre-weighed for the recipe. It comes with some hops, and you get a choice of yeast. So the choice of yeast is Cross-My-Loof yeast, which is obviously an excellent yeast if you've used that before. Excuse me again, it's getting over a cough. Or WHC Lax, the LAX yeast. I think it's like the Chico yeast, American Ale. Used this before, really good as well. So I don't know, I've used Cross-My-Loof 5 before. I don't know, I just went for the Lax, just for the shit out of it. Right, so it comes with some comprehensive instructions. So just to give you the headlines about this beer, so there's a bit of blurb here. It says it's their latest creation, Nectaron hopped APA American Pale Ales brewed with a newly released 2024 crop of Nectaron hops, known for their intense tropical fruit and citrus aromas. Expect vibrant notes of pineapple, passion fruit and stone fruit, complemented by hints of grapefruit. The malts are all sourced from Thomas Fawcett, excuse me, Thomas Fawcett and Son in Yorkshire. Those guys are based up in Yorkshire, so nice to see them using locally sourced malts. Excuse me. Results of a refreshing, well-rounded beer with a smooth finish that showcases the best of both worlds. Innovative flavours of New Zealand hops and the traditional quality of Yorkshire malts. All that's blurbs on their website, so you can read about it on there. Okay, so the ingredients, it says, is Halcyon pale ale malt, crystal malt, wheat and oats. Yeast is WHC Lax or Cross-My-Loof, which is just explained, and 2024 T90 Nectaron. I haven't coughed all morning. Of course, now started this, I'm coughing, so apologies for that. About the brew, ABV 4.6, IBU 38, EBC 11, OG 1043, FG 10008. So I punched this roughly into brew file. I get slightly different numbers to that, so I'd be interested to see what we get at the end. It gives a water profile if required. You can use your tap water, or if you're using RO water like I am with this brew, it gives you the exact additions to add, so your calcium, chloride and your magnesium, sulfate, all that kind of stuff. Your water and mash temps, and then there's some real detailed instructions about, you know, pre-mash, mash, sparge, boil, fermentation, dry hop. So I'm not going to go through all of that now, but what I'm going to tell you is that I'm going to be mashing at 68 degrees, as it says here, for 60 minutes. And I'm going to be doing a 60-minute boil, which is, again, slightly unusual for me, as I tend to try and chop that down to 30 minutes. But I'm going to stick exactly to these instructions and how this kit is intended, so I can give you a fair review at the end of it. So the hops come all nicely weighed out in these individual pouches. So there's a 60-minute hop edition, there's a 10-minute hop edition, there's a 0-minute hop edition. I'm not sure if it says when to put that in. Add the 0 hop pack when you turn the power off. Let the hops stand for 30 minutes. So quite a big hop stand, or amount of hops for a hop stand. So I might reduce that down to 80 degrees. I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure. I'll just follow the instructions. I'm going to follow the instructions to the T. So I'm going to put them in at 0 and see how it turns out. Okay, and then there's a dry hop, which again unusually says after 3 days of fermentation, add the dry hop pack to the fermentation vessel. So that's going to be kind of like a high Brewzilla during fermentation. I would probably normally tend to put that in at the end once it's finished, but again, I'm going to go with this and see how it turns out. I'm sure those guys know what they're doing, and this has obviously been created around this specific method, so I'm sticking with it. Fermentation, I'm going to be using my all-rounder, but probably not under pressure. It doesn't say anything about that, so I'm just going to go with 0 pressure maybe until it comes to cold crushing at the end. So I'll just put a bit of pressure in there and stop it collapsing when I cold crush it. So that's it. Really nice, easy brew day, which I'm quite enjoying, I have to say. So there's been no messing about with weighing out hops, no thinking about how much water additions I've got to make, or any of that kind of stuff. It's all here for me. I just put stuff in my all-in-one brew system. I guess you can do it brew in a bag as well, it doesn't really matter. I think those guys have got Brewzillas and something else, I'm not quite sure, so I don't know. I'm assuming this has been designed on their Brewzilla. And then just chuck the hops in at the intervals, put it in the all-rounder. Bob's your uncle, fun as your aunt. See you in a couple of weeks for the tasting. All right, cheers. Okay, here it is. So this has now been conditioning in a keg for 24 days according to Brewfather. So I know you've noticed that there is no brew day footage, so there's a bit of a reason to that. I had a couple of questions about the hop additions with the kit, which I spoke to Ben about during my brew day. So I think, as I said at the start, when I punched the numbers into Brewfather, I was getting considerably higher IBUs than was stated in the recipe instructions. And I think that was due to the fact that the instructions said to kind of put it at the last hop addition in at 0 minutes at flame out, or power off, I think it said, rather than kind of reducing the temperature to 80 degrees and allowing it to stand under 80 degrees for 30 minutes. So if I'd have done that, then probably would have got a really bitter beer. Fed that back to the guys, we had a bit of a conversation over email, and I think either their instructions have changed maybe, or they've updated it, or the hop additions have changed, I'm not sure. But yeah, they did say that the recipes were kind of still being refined, or this one was. So yeah, anyway, we made the changes. So basically I brewed it how I thought Brewfather, or how the results would be better through Brewfather, which was basically reducing the hop addition at the start and tagging that onto the end and basically doing a longer hop stand. But as I say, if you were to buy the kit now, I think the instructions would be clear about when you add that, and you should get a similar result as to what I've got here. So yeah, that's the only deviation I made to the instructions. But because of that and the back and forth during the day, I didn't actually get any brew day footage. But you know, it was basically just mashing as per the instructions, hop additions in at 60 minutes, 10 minutes, and well, flame out, or what I did as a hop stand. Cool it down, whack it in the old fermenter with the LAX yeast, let it go. I let it go for 2 weeks in total. I dry hopped on day 3 as per the instructions, which is again slightly unusual for me, as I tend to let fermentation finish before I dry hop. So I was quite interested to see how that turned out. And that was it. So yeah, it's been in the keg for 3 weeks. So what I would say about this is it's definitely worth leaving it and being patient with it. I took a few samples in the first week, and the sort of bitterness seemed quite harsh at the time. And yeah, it's basically just my own impatience getting the better of me. I think it does say in the instructions to leave it for a month. So even now, I'm probably drinking this earlier than I should be, but I have been enjoying it over the last week or so. All of that sort of harshness that I sort of perceived at the start is now just conditioned out, and it's a lovely tasting beer. So let's dive in and tell you how it's came out. So as you can see, it's sort of like a nice deep golden sort of colour, which I'm guessing comes from the crystal that's in it. It is hazy at the moment. I don't think it's going to clear because it's got oats and wheat in it. So I think it is kind of, that's how it's supposed to look. It's supposed to have that kind of haze to it. I wouldn't say, you know, it's not a super hazy beer, but there is a haze to it. And that's probably from the addition of those oats and wheat. I've still got this bloody cough, so apologies. Now it's started. It's got a nice tight head on the top that seems to stay there throughout, you know, to the bottom of the glass. And yeah, it's a cracking looking beer. What does it smell like? Well, it's got all those sort of tropical citrusy flavours that you'd expect from Nectaron. I said I'd used this before I think I said at the start in a New Zealand Pale Ale, but actually I'd used it in a New Zealand Pilsner. So it was left a bit more out there on its own, where this is kind of, you know, it's a bit more balanced with the malts, I'd say. But if you've never used Nectaron before, I'd say it's kind of similar to Citra and Mosaic, that kind of thing. It's a bit of stone fruit, tropical fruit, citrus flavours. It's a bit more rounded than Citra, I'd say. It's like a more, I don't know about sophisticated, but it's a bit more of a rounded version of Citra, I'd say. It's kind of along those lines. Although the citrus sort of edge to it, I'd say it's kind of leaning more towards tangerine. There's a bit of, yeah, there's a nice sort of a nice citrus edge to it, but not much grapefruit. I'd say my own personal perception of it is kind of more of a citrusy, orangey smell to it, but it smells absolutely delicious, I have to say. Let's dive in for a quick taste. So again, you get those nice citrus and tropical fruit flavours coming through, a bit kind of fruit salady type thing going on. Got a nice body to it, which again you'd expect with it having oats and wheat in it. And there's a sort of sweetness in the background coming from the crystal, which balances it out really nicely actually. So yeah, I'd say that as a
pretty intelligent addition having the crystal in there. You know, it feels like a nice balanced beer. That's what I'm saying. Very drinkable. Although it's got quite a full mouthfeel, it's a little bit dry as well. So yeah, it is a nice kind of sessionable beer, I'd say. Mine finished at 4.7%, which I think was about where it was supposed to finish. I think the instructions said 4.6 maybe from memory. Mine finished at 4.7, which yeah, makes it a nice sessionable beer, I guess. Yeah, I'm really impressed, and it's nice to just pick up a kit and kind of throw it together on brew day, not have to give too much thought to it, let someone else do the thinking. And it's a good way of trying out different beers and different things and seeing how they turn out. So yeah, I mean, if I was brewing up a pale ale, I may not have reached for the crystal. It's not really one of my go-to things necessarily with a pale ale like this, but it's worked really well, and it sort of inspired me to maybe try it out in one of my own pale ales. So yeah, it's been a bit of a good experiment, I'd say. And yeah, I'll definitely use them again. As I said, value for money, absolutely exceptional. Postages, I think it includes postage, I can't remember now, but yeah, I think this one was like 25, 26 quid, something like that, for what, 35, 40 pints? No, it's 20 litre, so yeah, 35 pints. I don't know what the maths is on that. What does that work out per pint? 35? Well, less than £1 a pint. It's probably about 80p, something like that. Someone will correct me, I'm sure. But yeah, 80 pence, something like that, for a glass of real quality craft beer. You can't go wrong. So yeah, if you haven't already checked them out, go and have a look, see what they got on their website. And I know, I'm certainly not disappointed. I've been really pleased with this one, and I'm looking forward to drinking, or at least brewing, then drinking the Golden Ale kit that I also got at the same time, which I'm going to be brewing up for Christmas. So yeah, cheers, Ben and Fenton, well done. It's a really lovely beer, and I'll definitely be dropping by and getting a few more kits in the future. Cheers.